Alpha 20. Loving what I've seen so far. We have had a second dev stream in this series and there are so many things that came up. And to go through everything in detail would just take ages and make for a super long video. So instead, I'm going to go through 42 pieces of news that came up. Well, it was more like 50 to 75, but there are repeats, some are minor. So let's just call it 42 because that is the answer after all. So right after you hit that like button and subscribe, we'll do a quick fire of them. Did you catch any other major piece of information that I missed? Why not let us all know? We have a creative menu update that also leads into the shape menu selector that gives us something like 1,200 new building pieces.
So as you can see here, we've revamped the creative menu, organized everything into different categories there on the left hand side. You've got the different shape menu icons up at the top there. You got the different categories of wood and brick and so on and so forth. Try to organize these into subcategories as well. So you got like construction, destruction, electrical, and basically what you'll see is every shape in the game. You can see right there in this version there's 1,201 total shapes. If you hit Shift R or if you hold R, you'll get the radial menu, and it will allow you to select a shape. This is the screen that the player will see, and you can tell that it's laid out almost like the creative menu. And what you'll do is you'll collect wood, you'll craft a frame shape, and then with that variable helper block that's in your toolbar, you can then select any shape in the game.
That Tier 5 apartment building has been revamped and it was slightly teased in this stream. It looked good. Now the new cop and the spider models actually made an appearance. I made a separate video for that, so check back a couple of videos. There's a bunch of new POIs, a total of 145 and counting. They're aiming at 170 plus by the time they're ready. A lot of these new POIs they have tested with hordes to see how they path, and this is something that's really important to ensure that zombie hordes actually can make their way through. The POIs are made in a sort of a tile shaping that are 25 by 25, 70 by 70, etc. in order to keep with the concept and be able to place in the generated map. There are spiral stairs. We will be able to craft them. As part of designing a lot of these filler POIs, they have ensured that you have multiple paths to take as you explore and clear them, so it's not just a dungeon crawl. Any material you can craft is a craftable block type, which means wood, cobble, concrete, and steel, although that could change. There are no more rebar frames, there are no more wet concrete. There's dry concrete that you place from the start, just like you do cobble and wood and steel. There are now only wood frames, or rather baseboard that you actually craft, place down, can pick up, and upgrade to full wood. Next stream on the Wednesday of 23rd of September will be a character artist stream. And no, log spikes are not coming back. They do exist in creative, but not craftable in survival. Will we have more Tier 5 skyscrapers? Maybe. Will there be a train station? Maybe. Lathan highlighted that they are looking at making some end quest as part of this storyline. Will there be more tiers than 5 tiers for POIs? Possibly. It is something that they are discussing. Is there any changes or upgrades to the trader buildings or the trader compounds? Maybe. Now that the blocks will no longer be downgraded when they are being destroyed, have the material health points or hit points been balanced? And yes, they have all been refixed and buffed up. How's the performance with all these changes? It's supposed to look pretty good. They mentioned even on a medium system it's feeling good. What about the color lighting that you see in some POIs? Unfortunately, only in the prefab editor. All blocks will in general have all the rotations, but some of them have specific ones depending on the type. But in general, you can rotate all directions. A really good question that came up was, will the new POIs make it into Naviskane map? Because that's a handcrafted custom map, and some of them will, which means that not all of them will be. What about having dynamic sleeper spots so that they're not always in the same location? And this is something that will not make it into Alpha 20, but it is a maybe for the future. And as a side note, I think this is also something where you have this concept of wandering sleepers that also plays part of it. Toilet loot, a really important question. Yes, toilet loot and loot has been changed and balanced out. What about all those wonderful decorations that you see around, pool table, etc.? No, they are not craftable in Alpha 20. In Alpha 21, they are looking at changing what the traders are selling, but that's not going to see a major overhaul in Alpha 20. What about all those variant blocks for appliances that builders have in creative? And no, they are not player craftable. There are some endgame changes, memorable counters, lots of snakes in some POIs, but they didn't give anything away. The Restore Power Quest is not quite ready. They are looking for some new models to be finished up before they are able to showcase that properly. There will be some sewer POIs. POIs in general are general and can appear in any biome, but there are some specifics for, say, the Wasteland. What about water POIs? Yes, it is a big wish for the designers, but it's not something that is in yet. What about exporting functions for your player-made bases as a prefab? And yes, that functionality exists since before. How about new animals? Unfortunately, it doesn't look like there's any new animals. A great question was, will all block shapes have the same amount of hit points? And in general, yes. There are, however, some shapes that have a lower amount of hit points. I suspect poles, maybe plates, because they're so used frequently by the player. The Fun Pimps did highlight that they will try to make more documentation of how to use the prefab editor and how to build POIs. A bunch of blocks now also have a tint associated to them. For instance, the sleeping bag. There's chairs, tables. If you look through some of the stream video, you will see that there are some different colored furniture. And yes, that water well bunker PI has been fixed. They finally put sleepers in there. There are currently no timer related quests where completion has to be a certain amount of time, but there are some code in there to give bonuses for completing in a shorter amount of time. On the whole of it, all the new PIs do skew towards being more dungeon type of PIs, but they are adding on more of these remnant PIs, which are sort of simpler, more straightforward filler PIs that they also make as part of creating cities in the world. And drones are completed. They will be shown off in a different stream. Skyscrapers now do spawn in vanilla random world generation. And this weird person called Vedui was asking, will POIs make use of that random part system but that allows some kind of customization at spawn time? And yes, the part system is being used in some POIs. Lathan said they have actually been working on a possible quest where explosions take down the building. I think that will be awesome. Don't be inside when it explodes. A programmer stream is coming up. And finally, if you have made it PI in Alpha 19, there will be an updated converter tools for PIs in order to convert that over to an Alpha 20 prefab, so stay tuned for that. Did you catch all these during the stream? Maybe you caught more. Now, wasn't this worth a few minutes of your time? Well, remember to hit that like button even if you don't subscribe, and I will definitely see you next time.
Special thanks to the great patrons supporting the channel. If you would like to join the vetted community and support these videos, do follow the Patreon link.